Thanks, Stacy. Jonathan, thanks for taking the time today. I always appreciate it. Saw your tweet on social media, and I just wanted to ask you, sort of what led to you wanting to send that out.
Um, just not making plays. I mean, there were some difficult plays, difficult situations, but I always hold myself accountable. That's just how I always been, how I always be. Not just with sports, just in life. Always gonna hold myself accountable.
Facing those receivers, particularly, Puka and Cup, I'm curious what makes them so good in your view.
Um, I, and not to take anything from them because they are really really good receivers. Just schematically, I think we don't give enough credit to their coordinator for how they came, the game plan that they had. They do a good job of scheming and getting those guys open. They know they're not going to line up in wide splits and get off press man-to-man coverage, and so their coaches don't ask them to do that, and they do a good job of scheming ways for them to get open.
And just like the first play that Puka had where he motioned and came through, I want to say, like, was it the tight end tackle gap there? Like,
Yeah.
or whatever it was. Is that unique, Jonathan? I mean, I don't know if I've seen that often, but I was curious what your perspective on that.
Yeah, it's a play that's I wouldn't. It's not unique or ever been done before. They do it a lot actually, but they typically build it off of a run play where they'll bring their receivers in because they have receivers who don't mind doing dirty work. So they'll bring them in through the C gap and block force, block on a linebacker, and typically it's a run play for them. But like I said, they do a good job of setting that up. They start out in the formation. Puka's to the field. They motion him, to the boundary formation ID to make sure that we were in man coverage. Obviously, it's not a good play for them if we're not in man coverage. And then motion him back, insert him through the C gap to, fake like he's blocking the linebacker there, and then release on a route. Goes back to my previous statement of scheming good ways to get those guys open.
Next question, Chris Ryan, followed by Karen Guregian.
Hey, John, hope all's well with you. Just what did the tape tell you today going in there, and what were kind of some of the conversations like, as a defense, knowing that obviously you guys didn't quite hit the standard?
Yeah, I kind of said it, at the beginning of the week, when I talked to you guys, it was, first thing first when you're facing that offense is, being able to consistently stop the run, get them to a point where they're in automatic drop back, pass situations. That's not, what they're good at. That's kind of where they struggle. And we weren't, able to do that and to get them in places where we can, drop back coverage. When we did, look at our third down, when it's gotta be drop back coverage, we played, good defense, but just overall, we weren't able to do, enough and, get them off the mark to where they're in situations they didn't want to be in.
Was curious to just kind of your upshot on where the defense is at this point, where it feels like on the offensive side of the football, there's growth, there's progress, those guys are getting better each week. I mean, do you feel that way about the defense at this point? And if not, I mean, what do you see need to be things that would make you feel that way?
I do see growth, week in and week out. I think it's just consistency. I think that'll be a big part of getting guys, we have a lot of guys who haven't played a lot of ball here, and just having that consistency week in and week out when there are new objectives for the week, just to go out and hit those targets. And I think as far as the defense, we definitely gotten better as a team. At the end of the day, even going back to yesterday, we did a lot of bad things in the game as a team, but at the end of the day, we did enough to have an opportunity to win, and that's what the National Football is, making the stops when it counts, making the touchdowns when it counts the way they did, and unfortunately, we just came up short.
Thank you.
Karen Guregian, followed by Chris Price.
Hey, John. Thanks for doing this today. Two quick ones. One, were you surprised at all that more adjustments weren't made to kind of neutralize the Rams' two big guns?
No, I don't think so. I mean, even looking back at the film, there were, just a handful of plays that I'll say that, were just out schemed, and I don't want to say out schemed, that just were a good scheme versus, a call. And so I don't think there's really a lot of adjustments that, could have been made to really, do anything different. Their coordinators did a really, really good job of everything they were doing was motion ID to make sure that, hey, I'm in the right, call for what I want to be in. And so they just had a really good game plan.
Pivoting to the next question, we're seeing Drake pull out a few more tricks almost every game. The way he throws the ball sidearm and so on and so forth. I was just listening to him on the radio say he had more stuff in his bag. Have you guys seen that at practice? And what might that be like?
Yeah, I think it's just come with growth and development, and it's just have him building his confidence in himself to go out there and quote unquote let his hair down and be himself. And the offensive line doing a good job. They've done a good job of protecting him and giving him the opportunity, to be himself and make good plays.
Thanks, John.
No problem.
Looks like the final question will be Chris Price.
Hey, John, thanks for doing this afternoon. Wanted to ask you specifically, Gerard talked to us this morning about the inability to convert in big moments that's continued to kind of dog this team over the last, handful of weeks. I guess my question is for you specifically, what does that mean for you as an individual? And then what does that mean for you, at least as it relates to the team?
It comes down to just finding a way to win. In this league, every game is close. You're not going to turn on the TV on Sunday and see a play that you won't see in another game. Every game has the same, quote unquote routes, concepts, big plays. Great players on both sides of the ball. But when it boils down to it, whatever unit is out there, you have to do your job as a unit. And at the end of the game, whatever happens in the first, second, third quarter, not dig yourself too deep of a hole to where you're, don't have an opportunity to win, where the team's just, kneeling the clock out, from the third quarter. And, we didn't do that. So we're giving ourselves an opportunity to win, at the end of the game. And the good teams find a way to convert more of those than they lose.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks, everyone.
You guys have a good one.
Rhamondre, thank you for doing this afternoon. Wanted to start off by asking you about something that Gerard said today, that you guys have an inability to kind of convert during big moments over the last however many weeks. What does that mean for you specifically as an individual, and then maybe your perspective on something like that team-wide?
Just we need to, like situational football, we need to excel. That's when we need to play our best football. And, like he said, we haven't really been doing that. So just everybody just take a look in the mirror and know the situation. And, and personally for me, when it's, 3rd and 2, 3rd and short, like I need to, ultimately get the first down.
Thank you.
Mike Reese, followed by Chris Ryan.
Hey, Rhamondre, just checking up on how you're feeling, playing a lot of snaps. How would you describe how you feel at this point in the season?
I'm feeling good for the most part. We're deep in the season now, so just general soreness, but I'm feeling, healthy and, ready to go.
I'm just making my way through the game, just sort of watching it over. I'm at a point in the late second quarter where there were back-to-back plays where you had blitz pickup. And I mean, I don't know if you remember them off the top of your head, like back-to-back plays, which made me want to ask you, how do you feel about that part of your game in terms of how it's developed and where you're at, with that part of the game?
Yeah, I feel really good about how that's going, and my progression with that. I always took pride in protecting the quarterback and being effective without the ball in my hand. So it could always get better. Little fundamental mistakes, I would say. Nothing like too huge, but some things I could tighten up on with the pass pro, and I think I'm in a good spot though.
I don't know why I always think of Coach Fears on that stuff. Like when I see a blitz pickup, like that, how he would coach it up, right? And that you'd be making him proud, I guess, was sort of the thought on that. Rhamondre, one other thought I had was the red zone offense the last couple weeks, probably not at the level you guys want it. And I'm just curious what you see, when you guys are getting in tight, that you might be able to do, to try to get yourself back on track there.
Kind of comes back to just knowing the situation and in the red zone, and in situational football, we need to play our best game. So just going back to that and just being, trying to be consistent in, what we're doing in the open field. We move the ball, but it gets tough for us in the red zone. So just finding a way to be consistent, moving the ball, and get more aggressive when we're down in the red zone.
Yeah. Next question, Chris Rye.
Hey, Rhamondre, hope all is well with you. With the obvious aside that you guys want to win first and foremost, what has it been like to see kind of the obvious growth that the team has had, say, over the last year? And is there satisfaction in that? Does that make you want to win more and that they're getting close? Like, how do you balance that as a guy who is obviously one of the key players on this team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously feels good, seeing the progression, but I wouldn't say satisfied at all. We're not winning enough games at this point. So, but the trajectory we're at and, where we were and things like that, feels good to know that, we're getting better ultimately, but just finding a way to, turn the corner all the way and get some wins.
When you look at Drake as an example and knowing how key his development is for the success of this franchise, like, do you see that like in games where like the last game as an example, he wanted to be more focused on the pass and scramble the pass as opposed to putting the ball down and running? Like, do you watch him and like, okay, I see where he's going, I see where this team is going in the future, or are you more locked into the present?
Kind of more locked into the present. We're all excited for Drake. He's doing a good job out there to be so young and just taking over the offense, things like that. So it's definitely some excitement for the future, but we're just trying to stay present and, win some games now.
The last thing I want to ask you about just yourself and how are you feeling in terms of your production and, what you've been able to, to put on tape, this season. You mentioned earlier that finding, maybe a couple extra yards on a 3rd and short situation. What do you see overall, and like, how do you do something like that? Get that extra yard or two in those spots.
I think it's just mindset. Well, I always, love to run hard and get behind my pads, but I guess just an extra emphasis on it. I'm a running back, and when they give me the ball on 3rd and short, they expect me to go get it. So just going to get it. Regardless, just putting my head down and getting the ball, regardless of the play call, how it's blocked up, things like that. So just being relentless personally on myself and going to get it.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Check the last question will be Mike Reese.
All right, awesome. So Rhamondre, you might have already answered part of this, but you come in for meetings today, and you take a lot out of the film review, right? And then moving forward. I guess my question is, like, what's the biggest thing that you guys are taking out of this as an offense that, from this game to move forward?
We're not letting, our progress go unnoticed. We are doing some good stuff on the offensive side of the ball. So just trying to learn how to build on that. And like I said earlier, just turn the corner all the way. I'm not really thinking about the future too much. Like, I want to win, right now. So just find a way to string them together and, play consistent.
Thanks for taking the time.
Of course. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Rhamondre. Thanks, everyone.